All right, good morning, class. Today we're going to be talking about Hard Mode Tazavesh, what you need to know about each and every single boss, maybe what you need to be knowing about some of the trash mechanics, and just kind of what's happening with Hard Mode Tazavesh. So Hard Mode Tazavesh is going to be awarding Myth Track level gear if you're able to keep your Street Smarts buff. What the Street Smarts buff does is it allows you to get Myth Track level gear at the end of the dungeon if all 5 players are able to maintain it. And of course, the most important part, if you have a death on any of your 5 players, you all lose the Street Smarts buff. This doesn't matter if it happens at the very beginning. It doesn't matter if it happens at the very end. All 5 of your players have to be able to stay alive for the entirety of this dungeon to maintain the Street Smarts buff. So that way, all 5 of your people can also get the Myth Track level gear at the end of the dungeon. And how this works is all 5 players have to click the mini boss at the very beginning of Tazavesh, get the hard mode buff, and then the hard mode will begin. Most of the hard mode mechanics are related to bosses. Almost none of it's related to trash. If you want my general advice, I would take most trash packs super slow, pull pack by pack, swap to AoE talents for the trash, swap to single target talents for the bosses. You could, in theory, lust every single boss. I don't think that's necessary, but you could, in theory, lust every single boss if you absolutely wanted to. So, going through and talking about some of the stuff that's actually difficult, you want to purge for this first area. These support officers have a debuff on them that reflects damage back to other players, so make sure that you have somebody in your group who can purge this debuff off. Beyond that, it's like don't stand in grenades, don't get hit by the officer spinning blade that's on the ground as well. Those things are relatively easy. Here's a spinner. Make sure you're getting kicks on the specialists. You know, random, just normal dungeon stuff. Then you have the first boss. In Zo'pax, the mechanic, the hard mode mechanic, is that Zo'pax is done with Zoda, which is the mini boss here. And this mini boss does a couple of mechanics. It does portals that beam players, and it does a large AoE pulse. It does radiant pulse and puts a dot on all the players. Those are probably the hardest mechanics that the mini boss does. What you want to do is you want to save your first bloodlust of the dungeon for this boss. You want to really make sure that you're focusing down this mini boss because this mini boss is much harder than the boss itself. As for the boss itself has the exact same mechanics that otherwise exist in Mythic Plus, where there is a steel weapon where you can end up getting your weapon. I think it's impound contraband. Let me actually back this up 10 seconds. And so the impound contraband goes off, and we had issues with this whenever we were looking at this earlier. And there is this large pillar of light where you need to go and pick up your weapon. You are pacified during it. The impound contraband can actually go inside of these circles as well. And whenever it goes inside of the circles, you need to really just make sure that you're going and picking it up. Beyond that, there's a couple of other mechanics. There is the armed security cast, which is basically somebody's going to be put in a cage, and the boss is then going to start charging towards them and killing them slowly over time. So you see the interrogations going off. Then our shaman is targeted with the interrogation above his head. He's going to have to walk away as far away from the boss as possible. Ideally, you have the mini-boss killed off rather quickly. Our mini-boss is still alive a lot, because whenever somebody gets put in the containment cell from that interrogation, the mini-boss can actually shoot them with the beams on the ground. And so, yeah, then you have to kill off the containment cell. Ideally, you could have somebody with an immunity. So here's one of the reasons that ad not being dead in time is problematic. And I mean, we lost our Street Smarts buff here. Is the AoE from the containment cell hit at the exact same time that guy was in the cage, and not the AoE from containment cell. The AoE from the mini boss hit at the exact same time that he was in containment cell, and he ended up dying. Plus, the portals continue to spawn on you. If you have an immunity, an AMS, an IBF, you can even meld potion and try to put it on somebody else. You can blink out of it as a mage. Those kind of things are very valuable on this boss. But this boss is pretty hard. Those are most of the mechanics that you need to know about this fight. There's like a frontal, there's like some circular ground effects, but that's pretty much it. Then we're going to be going left side. Left side is much easier, and you can take it a lot slower. We actually end up playing it a little bit faster in this M0. We're playing a little bit faster in the hard mode because, I mean, we lost our Street Smarts, so it didn't really matter. But so we start playing this a little bit faster, where we pull this mini boss. Realistically, we're probably supposed to pull this solo. We do it with these double core hounds. This mini boss, all you have to do is make sure that you don't end up getting hit by this beam, you just drag the mini boss very slowly across the bridge to not get targeted by it. And with the ancient core hounds, they have to die within 10 seconds of one another. Otherwise, they heal. You kick them, then you walk downstairs. You grab these night claws. They are similar to the Dark Heart Thicket night claws, where you just have to heal and dwarf them off. And now we are on to the Menagerie encounter. Well, we go back and pull some trash. We go back and pull some trash because we're waiting for our bloodlust to come up. But now you're on the Menagerie encounter. In the Menagerie encounter, the hard mode mechanic on this is that the bosses spawn faster than they do in Mythic Plus, meaning that you are going to be getting Ashlyte a lot faster. You really want to be focusing down Alcrux as fast as possible, though. And you lust this boss around 20 seconds in whenever Ashlyte comes down. So you do end up holding your cooldowns. You do end up holding lust for a couple of seconds, just waiting for that boss to spawn. And then, boss is pulled, and then immediately the second boss is starting to come down. He jumps, he's going to be jumping off his platform. Also, Alcrux has a couple of different mechanics. He pulls people in and puts a big circle on them, and then he also spawns circles around the room. These spawn circles around the room. So this is actually part of Ashlyte. These dispel debuffs are part of Ashlyte, but these spawn circles are a part of Alcrux, and this is where I actually think a lot of people can die. You have to be moving like pretty much the millisecond that the previous orbs hit the ground. Like if you're not moving immediately, you're going to be getting clipped. Like even here, I was maybe like half a second away from getting clipped, and so you really need to just make sure that you're picking up the pace and you're moving as fast as possible. So Alcrux starting to go down, and now we have the Gluttony ability and the Ashlyte active at the exact same time. So there's a global ability that's on this fight, and it's called Gluttony, and you pass it to the nearest player, and it expires every 20 seconds. You can see Pumpkin Spice Lotta here is going to be dropping the debuff. The nearest player looks like it's going to be our tank. Yeah, our tank ends up getting the Gluttony, and Ashlyte at the exact same time is casting Venting Protocol. What Venting Protocol does is it's spawning these orbs that you can see on here. And so these orbs, they won't kill you if they hit you, but it is a damage down, so you really want to be just kind of super careful whenever you are doing this fight. If you have the Gluttony buff, you can go pick them up. Whenever Venting Protocol happens, you need to make sure that your DPS aren't in melee of Venting Protocol, otherwise they get knocked back and they take a decent amount of damage. It won't one-shot them, but it does a lot of damage. The person with the Gluttony should be trying to play goalie and pick up as many of these balls as possible, because they get a damage amp whenever they're picking them up. But if you don't have the debuff, you don't have the Gluttony debuff, then you get a damage down. So Venza Gold Fuse then starts to spawn rather quickly after that. And she only has two mechanics. She has Chains of Damnation, which is 100% slow. It can be freedomed off. It can be Tiger's Lusted off. It can be removed from a bunch of different areas like Shapeshift and stuff like that works as well. And then the other ability that she has is like Whirling Surge, or Whirling Annihilation. I see it on the screen here. And she progressively starts to pull you harder and harder towards her, and at the exact same time that the Ashlyte mechanics, where he's still got the Venting Protocol going on, the global Gluttony is happening, and if for some reason you didn't end up killing off the other boss, he would be Alcrux, he would be still doing his circles and his Dispel circles at the exact same time. So that's what the Menagerie ends up looking like. But this is I think that the first guy, that's a really easy way of losing street smarts, just because of the circles that are on people. Then we go over to Myza's Oasis. Myza's Oasis actually is, the trash that's over here is not really that difficult. You end up having to kill off these lackeys in the strong arms. Basically, let me go back to actually the very beginning of whenever we started this. So whenever you activate this, every single time, okay, so there's a mini boss that's over here, and every single time you pick up one of the packages that you have to deliver to each of the merchants, you can see, and drop it off on your mini map. And so each time you pick up one of these packages and you are going to deliver the packages to the merchants, the strong arms actually fixate you, and it spawns a bunch of trash. In theory, you could actually just take this as slow as possible. We were playing it kind of closer to how you're going to play it in Mythic Plus, but realistically, what's going to happen here? Tank delivers the goods, tank picks up the next goods, trash spawns, tank is then fixated by the strong arm. Tank should not go and deliver the next goods or drop the package or anything like that, because you really want that strong arm just fully focused and fixated onto that tank. If any of your DPS or healer pick up the package as well, they're going to have that strong arm fixated onto them, and it will beat them to death, frankly. Like, there's not really much way around it. So that is a potential fail case, but it's not like the hardest fail case. And now we're on to Myza's Oasis, where you got a lot of time to think about what you're going to be doing on this boss. Myza's Oasis hard mode encounter is the second wave of ads. Has different types of ads that spawn. Realistically, the Myza's Oasis encounter is not too hard. Everybody's going to be picking up an instrument in the band, and they're going to be using their extra action button to be able to jump through these targets that are on the ground. And whenever you jump to these targets that are on the ground, they give you a damage amp once you hit 10 of these targets. By getting 10 of these targets and being able to refresh them later on, I'm going to show you, being able to refresh them is actually a huge deal from your damage amp to be able to complete and basically kill off the final boss whenever it ends up spawning. So first wave of ads spawn. First wave of ads is kind of whatever. Realistically, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put 1 DPS or 1 15-second interrupt on both of the security guards here, and then just kick the patron as much as you reasonably can. The securities are the main mobs that you have to kick, though, and that's kind of the most important thing. So then you end up killing those ads off, and you get some more of these targets that give you the damage amp whenever you complete and go through 10 of them, and you have ads that spawn, and these are new ads that are related to the hard mode. Most of these ads didn't really do too much. One of them did a frontal, one of them did a pulsing AoE, one of them targeted the player with the trumpet. I think that probably one of your most durable DPS is probably supposed to be the person that's on the trumpet, just because there is a debuff that gets put onto them every so often. And so that's one of those things that, just have your most durable DPS pick up the trumpet if possible. But beyond that, it's not the end of the world. Beyond that, if you're looking for an ad to kill off, Hips is probably the person. He does the drum roll cast, which does a significant amount of damage to your group. Then beyond that, people are getting targeted with a frontal. Not really too much going on with those. I don't think the hard mode of this fight is that bad. I actually do think Zo'pax here is a harder part of this encounter. You can lust this guy, and I think if you have people who lose their damage amp for some reason, you probably should lust this guy whenever he is doing his crowd control cast final warning shield that you see right here. If you have people who lose their damage amp, you probably just press bloodlust. That way you can get through this final warning cast. And the final warning happens twice, and you can see right here we get more targets on the ground. I refresh mine, my Shaman and my DK don't. It doesn't really matter for this one, but it's going to be problematic for future final warning casts. Then Zo'pax starts to cast Suppression Spark, and this is actually a really hard part of this fight on Mythic Plus. I should have been standing melee. Frankly, I shouldn't have moved out, but Zo'pax spawns targets during the Suppression Spark cast. And you can see right here, my targets are here. And so what you're supposed to be doing is 1.5 seconds before the Suppression Spark cast happens, you're supposed to see where your targets are, and you're supposed to just dash straight through them. I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to drop my debuff. And I just like dash towards it this way, which is obviously problematic because my DK is just hanging out there, pressing Death's Advance, just bat chesting. So he's doing whatever the fuck he's doing, and I dash on top of him and take a lot of damage, which is not the correct way of doing this fight. But we don't die because it doesn't deal that much damage. Then beyond that, we kind of already seen all the mechanics. The final warning happens again. Whenever the boss gets a little bit lower, you have to DPS through it. If you can't break the final warning shield, it does a large AoE to your entire group. It doesn't necessarily one-shot you, but if you have group-wide externals such as Anti-Magic Zone, Mass Barrier, Power Word Barrier, that kind of thing, you should press every single personal, every single group defensive before that final warning cast goes off, because it is livable, but it's going to hit for a considerable amount of damage. Now we're going on to the Postmaster room, and the Postmaster room is you just want to pull most of the trash out. You can do like a double trash pack out and pull it out. I mean, realistically, you can play this one pack at a time if you're going for hard mode completion. You don't really have to play it that aggressive, and so I think that's kind of whatever. That's why most of the trash is relatively easy. And so Postmaster, the main mechanic on Postmaster hard mode is that whenever you pick up one of the packages, you're rooted. So the way of dealing with this is people tend to want to throw the package to themselves and play like hopscotch with themselves, where they throw it up in the air and then they get back in the circle, they grab it. They throw it in the air, they get back in the circle, they grab it, and then they throw it into the active vent. Beyond that, this boss has a couple of other mechanics. He puts purple swirlies on the ground. If you soak those, it puts a dot on your player that can be dispelled with the magic dispel. Alternatively, if you don't soak them, it puts a ground effect. The ground effect is fine. You're going to have some of the ground effects go off. You don't need to soak all these purple swirlies. Just don't try to let them go off in the middle. Like if we can keep like this play area clear, it's mostly fine. Everything else is whatever. Other mechanics, fan mail. The boss just does like a large pulsing AoE and does a decent amount of damage to you. And then of course we have the briefcases that I was talking about earlier as the hard mode mechanic on this, and having bloodlust on this fight is very valuable. So the hazardous liquid here, this is what I was talking about earlier about soaking it and keeping your play area kind of clean. A massive spell is fantastic here. Then we are going to fan mail into a group soak into unstable goods. So we have the money order, which is a group wide soak. You can bop it off or immune it. It's not. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to do. Just bop it off or immune it. So that way you just lower the amount of damage that's on your people. And now we have the portal that's arriving, and we're going to be seeing the hard mode from the unstable goods. So immediately you have to figure out which of the portals is active. And you can see right here, this portal is the one that's active. It's the one that's got the mail shooting up, and this is the effect that you're going to need to be on the lookout for whenever you are doing this. And whenever you pick up this package, realistically, you're going to have an extra action button that you can use to be able to use a targeting reticle on the ground and throw the package to yourself over and over again. Alternatively, if you have Druid is definitely the best for this. If you have a Druid in your group, you can dictate that the Druid is going to be the person who's primarily running the packages. And you can see right here, the reason for that is because I can actually shapeshift off that route and it doesn't drop the package on the ground. Like conventional wisdom would say that it's probably supposed to drop the package on the ground, but it doesn't. So the rest of my group is playing hopscotch with those packages. I probably should have done more, frankly. Like, I think this is one of those things that I should have definitely done more of the packages. I ended up doing 2 of them, throwing them into the, I guess I threw 3. Yeah, American Hero. But yeah, that's roughly the hard mode mechanics on this fight, is just making sure that you're getting those packages into that mail chute before it's done. So now you can skip the mini boss here if you kill off some of the trash. I think if you're the tank, you probably just wait. Skipping this mini boss is fine. You jump up on this banister here and you don't walk past this area. Like, you don't jump off. If you don't pass this, then you can click on this and it just immediately ports you up top, skipping this mini boss. I think your tank is probably the person who's supposed to go last, just to make sure that everybody else makes it in time. And you can see me here. I'm able to make it up. It doesn't pull the mini boss. I'm kind of like looking. I phase out, but somebody will say something if we messed up. Salami is, or so as me, but Salami is an interesting encounter on hard mode, where the boss immediately separates the room into 4 quadrants. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so you want to start in a specific quadrant. And her main hard mode mechanic is triple technique, where whenever she goes at 66 at 33%, she goes to cast her intermission ability, which is normally double technique, except now it's triple technique. So say she starts in quadrant 1. So if she casts triple technique in quadrant 1, you want somebody to go and kick that as fast as possible. You want people actually spread out as well during the triple technique, and I'm going to explain why in a second. But somebody goes and kicks in quadrant 1. Then she immediately ports into a different quadrant, right? So say she ports from quadrant 1, quadrant 3. Then somebody has to go and kick her in quadrant 3, and she'll port from quadrant 3 to, say, quadrant 2. And then somebody has to run and go kick her again. And realistically, you just want people that are spread out during this this segment to make sure that you can get enough kicks on her to be able to make sure the triple technique is dealt with as fast as possible. Beyond that, she has a couple of other mechanics. She has Shuris, which are basically debuffs, or like debuff spreading rings that go out every so often. And you have to be able to analyze and determine where, in what shape you're going to be going through to make sure that you're safe from the Shuri. She also does a phase slash debuff that gets put onto 3 players. It can be LOS. I don't really know what the LOS would be useful for on this, but she puts the phase slash on 3 people. As long as your healer is connected to the game, they should be able to heal through that. So first Shuri goes off. We immediately determine that we want to be going from square to square here. And then as this Shuri passes over square, we are going to be then porting back across onto that one. As opposed to, let's say if we could go through triangle here in just a moment. But as long as everybody's on the same page, it's not really that big of a deal. So you see here, the portal passes over square, everybody ports, and then we are all safe, except for our shaman, who's a noob and goes early and gets hit by the Shuri beam and then dies. But that's roughly the mechanic. And so now you're going to see what triple technique looks like. So boss gets pushed to, I believe it is 66%. I think it's going to happen after the Shuri and phase slash, where then she's going to be porting and doing the triple technique in just a couple seconds. Maybe it's 60%. Okay, it is 66%. She's just waiting for the spell queue. So we want people fanned out into these quadrants, all right? So I said quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So our tank is going to stay here in quadrant 4. Our shaman is going to be going circle to circle and then triangle to triangle, kicking the triple technique. I'm going to be staying in quadrant 2, and then realistically we should get somebody in quadrant 3, probably our DK, but I don't think we were that coordinated with what we were doing. Before you pull this boss though, you should assign people these quadrants that they're going to be looking to go to for their kick. So our shaman gets the kick. I have to port back and get this kick on this triple technique. The earlier you kick the boss, the easier it is. There's currently a bug with Solar Beam on the PTR where it turns the boss into a brick for the remainder of the fight, so I don't really have any other footage of the rest of the encounter. But you guys know all the mechanics. I kind of went through all of them. Now we're going to the Gambit side, and the Gambit side trash is actually relatively simple. I would just pull this area as slow as possible. The trash in the Gambit side, kind of impossible to fuck up, if I'm going to be honest. Again, the trash isn't meant to necessarily be played one pack at a time. It's just not as dangerous in the current day and age. And so as long as you're just like really focusing as to what's going on, the trash more or less should be okay. So we kill off the trash and we make it onto Hylbrande, and he's got 2 new mechanics that differ from Mythic Plus. And the first one is an add. And you see this guy's the Breaker. He's got 2 of his normal Acolyte adds that he spawns, and then the console that we're going to be talking about in a second. So let's first talk about the Breaker. So the Breaker add has like a 3-player kick rotation that is required. I believe is a 3 melee kick rotation. If you have any additional range kicks that you can throw into this, this is totally fine. Alternatively, you can play with Prop Paladin and he makes this trivial. But the Breaker should be focused pretty much whenever he is out. And making sure that you continue to rotate kicks on him. Actually, you should probably focus the boss, but whenever the Acolytes come out, then you start hitting the Breaker. And this is a boss that you definitely need your lust for. So you need to make sure that you're rotating kicks on him. And then whenever the ads spawn, in Mythic Plus, you want to be CCing the ads. This is not the case in the M0 hard mode. So whenever you CC the ads in Mythic Plus, it's kind of the situation where they start casting their bolts over and over again, which isn't a big deal because you don't have a kick rotation that's on these purifier ads. So what you let these purifiers do is you just let them channel their empowered defense kits. You don't press a CC on them, and then you just continue to hit the Breaker, and it just kind of, it does give a DR to the boss, but it's not the end of the world. Now, there's a couple other mechanics. You see this Purifying Beam right here. So this Purifying Beam, actually, you have to be pre-moving it, and you have to be pre-moving it with like a movement speed effect. Let me back this up 10 seconds so you can see this Purifying Beam come out. Because this Purifying Beam is actually going to kill some people and wipe some groups. So Purge by Fire goes out on Toasty here, and you see that he is pre-moving this, and the Purge by Fire beam gets spawned like underneath his feet. He needs to be continuously running away from it. I like to press Wild Charge the moment that the Purifying Beam spawns on me. That way I'm able to not get ticked by it. Failure to move fast enough, it ticks you immediately, it runs your ass over, and then it's really, really dangerous. Now we have the console, which the console requires people to be in voice. So pugs are going to have a problem with this. What this is basically indicating, and the person who is doing the console is the only person who can see this. So this K color, this purple is going to be going top right, N is going to be going, or this K color is going to be going top left. This N color is going to be going top right. H is bottom left. X is bottom right. And so that's what I end up typing in a party chat, right? I'll type KN and then hit enter, and then HX and then hit enter. That way everybody can kind of know what it looked like from the console's POV as well, so they can figure out where they're going to be taking theirs. I picked up the H one, and if you deposit these into the wrong hole, it actually wipes your group. What I did make a mistake of doing is I was supposed to definitely just be focusing on these purifiers prior to clicking the console. Kill off the Breaker, kill off the purifiers. It's not actually that big of a deal to get the console clicked as fast as possible. Making sure that the ads are killed off as fast as possible is going to be the primary cause for concern here. So we go through the console phase. Let me back this up. So we kill out the ads. Then we go and click the orbs into the consoles. We get them all in the correct one. It takes us a little while to figure out who's doing what, because nobody's ever actually been in here before. So some people didn't realize that they needed to pick up some of these orbs. We eventually get all of the orbs to where their location is, and everything is fine. And then we rinse and repeat that phase one over again. So that's Hylbrande. Then we go into Time Captain Hooktail's trash area. Again, just playing this as slow as possible. Time Captain Hooktail is where we wipe. Let me fast forward to our kill. So this fight sucks. Ideally, having You're going to want Mass Roots. You're going to want Earth Grab Totem. Ring of Frost is really good. D&D Slow from a DK is really good. Ring of Peace is really good. Typhoon is very good. Those are probably the best CC effects for these ads. So the main mechanic, the main hard mode mechanic on this fight is that the frontal from the boss has to hit the ads twice to be able to kill them off, where previously in Mythic Plus, it only has to hit them once. On top of that as well, we have difficult mechanics from the boss itself, whether it be Anchor Shot, whether it be Bombardment Circles, and whether it be the Dispel debuff. So healers have a debuff that is constantly getting applied to players that gives them a haste buff, but it has to get dispelled, and it does some ticking group-wide AoE. And for the Bombardment Circles, you're going to see this here. We're going to want to be grouped-ish, close to the wall, and let me fast forward this boss. We're going to want to be grouped-ish, close to the wall, and we're going to be drawing the fire like this way. If you get pulled with the Anchor Toss, it's going to be pulling you this direction, not that big a deal. Try to avoid the Bombardment Circles whenever you're getting hit with the Anchor Toss. Also, try to make sure that you're always constantly having a vantage point where you are able to hit the boss as melee. Yes. So now the ads spawn, and you can see this shield that's on right here. And that is indicating that they have not been hit by the first time with the Infinite Breath that you can see on screen. So the Infinite Breath is coming out, and I'm going to wait for these brutes to get close enough to where I can walk up and master them. So now they're mastered for 10 seconds, and we need Landslide, also another good ability. I didn't call it out earlier, but Landslide is pretty good. And so now the next Infinite Breath here is coming out. These ads are going to get broken out of this mastery in the last possible second. I'm going to try. I think I knocked this guy maybe, or he gets dropped back into the Infinite Breath, and that takes him out. Then we're going to continue to move across the room. You know, you see our healer gets hit with the Anchor Shot, and we have another wave of these ads spawn. Now, we have Shaman and Double Druid, so we have Totem here. We can Earthbind Totem these and Mass Root them again, and continue to try to just get good mob control in them. That's what we're looking for on this fight, is just making sure that we have good mob control on these brutes. Here's the thing. These ads are killable. They only have 45 million HP. If you absolutely need to, you can kill them off. And if you miss an Infinite Breath on them and you don't have enough like mob control, I would just recommend killing them. They fixate random players and they will melee them. Just making sure that you try. I think that you're going to need some level of mob control to kind of deal with these mobs. But, you know, this is why Bloodlust is super important on this boss. This is why having all of your offensive CDs is super important on this boss. Because if this boss is very long, you can kind of run into problems where you don't have enough mob control. Now we have the last section of trash, where there's a couple of mobs that matter. There are the Ritualists, and there are the Starseers. The Starseers, they spawn a Wandering Pulsar that does pulsing AoE onto your entire group. You kind of want to pool resources for that. Beyond that, the Ritualist has 2 casts. It has the Unstable Rift cast, which if you let that go off, it's going to wipe your entire group. You'll be very, very sad to deplete your Deathless run this late. It also has a Hyperlight Bolt casts, which doesn't do anything. And the Starseer has a Monitor check in this Drifting Star cast. Basically, you just have to get out of the way of the Drifting Star frontal, and then you're basically fine. That's all the trash that's in this area, pretty much. And so now we're on to Celia. Celia is a pretty difficult encounter. Celia, what her hard mode mechanic is that there's two of them. First, the Hyperlight Jolt is a little bit different, where all of the players have to hit their relic with the Hyperlight Jolt at the exact same time. Otherwise, they are going to be they have to basically reshoot the Hyperlight Jolt, and they have to play it with the vulnerability. It makes it a little bit harder. Also, the relics move right before the Hyperlight Jolt goes off, and so I think that assigning players like rough quadrants, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like these rough quadrants around this room, say kind of like that, is going to be beneficial. That way people have like a rough idea of where they're going to be going. The other hard mode mechanic is the spark that she spawns that's in the middle of the room, kind of similar to what the Sacrificial Pyre is in Pyre of the Sacred Flame. It applies a vulnerability debuff onto the players who are soaking it. What we did was we used the tank to soak it every single time. The tank would soak it all 5 times. I think if your tank is properly rotating through their defensives, it shouldn't be an issue if they are looking to soak it. Alternatively, you could group soak it. But something that you need to know as well is every single time you soak the circle that we're going to be talking about, it does a very light suck onto your players, and it tries to drag you into that portal. Beyond that, boss summons assassins in phase 1. These are only relevant mechanic in phase 1. They need to basically either be CC'd or interrupted on their cast. Either one works. Just making sure that you end up interrupting that is fine. So here's the collapsing star that I was referring to earlier. This is where the hard mode mechanic happens. So our tank is going to jump in there. It starts sucking us towards that collapsing star. You see he's got that vulnerability debuff that he's going to be stacking up here momentarily, but he doesn't care because he's a tank. He soaks the second stack. He's got 2 stacks of the vulnerability debuff. He's going to soak third stack here after all of our debuffs. So basically it puts a dot on you as well. And after our debuffs fade and he feels like our health is safe enough, he's going to be soaking the third one, and then he has to soak the fourth one, getting the 4th stack of the debuff. His health doesn't really drop too much, and we are good to go. Once Celia is pushed to 40% HP, she is going to be going into the second phase. Whenever she goes into the second phase, she is immune. I guess it's a 99% reduction. And we're going to be doing those hyperlight jolts that I was calling out as the hard mode mechanic. And plus, these relics don't move. On hard mode, you got to be a little bit more aware, and so you're going to see the relocation cast happens right before the hyperlight jolt. And so you see right here, we're actually going to be missing this relic. I see this arrows coming to me from here, so I know that I need to be staying on this side of it. But this relic is just going to get missed because nobody's there. And so that's why I'm saying like roughly have approximate positions that people are going to want to be. That way you can avoid this. So now everybody's got a vulnerability debuff of the hyperlight jolt. I see our shaman's going to be going to that relic, so I move across the room to this relic and make sure that we don't have to go higher than 2 stacks of the hyperlight jolt vulnerability. We could lust here. This is a point in time where we could press Bloodlust on this boss, but we're going to be waiting for Ascendance, and we're going to be waiting for Breathless Indigosa to line up, so we're going to be waiting for a minute 30 here, and you're just kind of waiting for your offensive CDs to line up before you press your Bloodlust on this phase. Ideally, it's right after the hyperlight jolt kind of situation happens, is whenever you press it. But yeah, now you have to dodge the relics from these bouncing star fragments, and I found that just facing my camera towards them and positioning myself to where I'm able to dodge is the best way of dealing with it. You also have to deal with the collapsing star again, and you can see our tank right there. He goes, soaks one time in the collapsing star. We make sure that we dodge out of those circles, and then we continue to soak that collapsing star over and over again until 4 times it does get soaked and it is completely removed. The relics also, again, continue to relocate, and after a certain period of time, we are going to have to be going into that hyperlight jolt. Once I skipped too far forward, but we go back into the hyperlight jolt, and then we see I go roughly back to the same position that I was before, and we're going to be looking to press our Bloodlust once we come out of this phase, and we are just going to send the boss straight back to the Shadowlands, pressing all of our offensive CDs, making sure that we don't end up getting clipped by any other mechanic. Okay, that was Hard Mode Tazavesh. I know this took 30 minutes. I got to catch a flight in 12 hours, so I got to go pack and get ready for all that stuff with the race roll first. I really hope it helps you guys. I think that shows to your friends right before you go and do the Hard Mode Tazavesh. Look at this right before you do each and every single boss. Play it as slow as possible. Those are probably the best ways of looking to kind of deal with this Hard Mode Tazavesh. That's the only word of advice that I have for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video, students. Adios.